when it comes to work and bitachon. So he says that we were saying last time that a person has to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could provide for you any job you do, and a person should not think that only one job gives more than the other. Rather, he should choose his job according to his bitachon, and he should realize that he's doing a mitzvah when he's working morning. And he says also that, for example, they quote the note over here from the Michtam Eliyahu. Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler, he writes, Alav Shalom, that people sometimes they have competition in business, or they have a difficulty in livelihood, and they think that they have to compete and they have to outdo other people and they have to put other people down in order to be successful. And he says that this is all nonsense. He says that Hashem is able to do anything, and therefore there's enough money in the world to go around for everybody. He says, for example, Hashem makes that the sun creates more energy than the earth needs, or there's much more oxygen than we need on the earth, right? Hashem made things in shefa, in abundance. And just like they printed money, they could print more, right? So therefore, it's just green papers. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He can give to anybody, even if like you have right they have diamond districts, right? You have multiple stores in a block, and everybody makes a parnasah somehow. So therefore, you see that it's not about location or your clientele or your skill or because you're in a good location. It's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed that you should get. That's why you got. So therefore, a person should not be nervous by other people. He should namarot. He should help the other guy and say, nobody can touch what's mine if it's meant for it to be to me. Like we said before, the case of the Kohen, just like every hair grows from its own root, so too every person has their own root. Nobody can touch for what's belonging to somebody else. Okay, we're to chapter 4. And he begins how we have to apply bitachon in other parts of our lives as well. For example, he says, Hu b'yanei gufa adam. He says, Bilvad. He says, for example, matters that revolves a person's body. For example, his life and his death. For example, if you will live or you die. Right? A person has to have bitachon in that as well. For example, basic food that he needs for his life. Malbusho, dirato, clothing, shelter. All these basic necessities, a person has to have bitachon in them as well. His health, his illness. The person has to use bitachon in all these categories as well. And what should he do? He should go and surrender himself to Hashem. Whatever decree and outcome Hashem made, he should have bitachon that this is what Hashem wanted him to have. Person lives only in an attached house. Person lives in a detached house. Person gets this amount of money for food. Person gets this kind of clothes. He only can afford this type of clothes. All these things, he has to have bitachon and realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided this is what's good for you, and that's what you need. And all these things, he should realize, person cannot get this through his own efforts. Only when Hashem decides you'll get. Only what Hashem determined is appropriate for you, this is what's good for you. Sometimes a person thinks, I should wear these type of brands, I should live in this type of house. Hashem knows that maybe it's not for you. Some people, when they get too much good stuff, they get to their head and they become bodigi and they forget about Hashem. So therefore, if Hashem puts you through this, what you have now, that means that's exactly what's the best for you. And he says, and in the end, even though you don't know why you only have this, in the end you'll realize that Hashem did it for the best, for your best, and He knows what's good for you. He knows what's good for us more than what we know is good for us. And Hashem's control is equal in all these matters. Right? We know that there's 4 keys, right? And 3 of them Hashem gave to Eliyahu Navi, 1 of them He didn't give. Right? There's the key for Parnasah, which is the rain. There's the key for the health, and then there's the key for the life, for giving birth. All these keys, Eliyahu Navi, He gave him 2, He didn't give him 1. But you see that Hashem has control of all these matters. Only things can come to this world if Hashem makes a decree and through His judgment. He says a very important line over here. He says, no human being has control over your life, over your death, over your illness, over your health. No one has control of teref mezonos, sipukul livusho. Nobody can control what kind of food he can get, what kind of sustenance he will have, what type of clothes he can get. All these things are as Hashem's control. So a person has to really remember, everybody is cool and everybody can do whatever they want until they realize what? Oh, the grandmother's dying. what do we do now? They start calling the rabbi. Rabbi, what do we do? They wake up and they realize there's Hashem. They wake up and they realize they need Chuyot. Right? A person is giving birth and they have complications in the birth. All of a sudden, Teilim groups, and all of a sudden, they need Chuyot, sponsor Shiurim. These are the places where we see Hashem's hand and we realize we are nothing without Hashem. Because this you go to work and how much money you come home with, nobody will be able to tell you how much you will come home with. This is all up to Hashem. This is where you see the hand of Hashem. Well, until when you're going to live, until when you're going to die, how you're going to be healthy or you're not, this is all in Hashem's hands. All the doctors, you tell them if they're really honest to themselves, there's no way you can believe there's no God. They saw so many miracles in the medical field. So therefore you've seen, this is where a person has to pay attention. And remember that only Hashem is in control. Only